I'm out on the porch in the morning, and it's like there's these little frozen in time snowballs all over the lawn. I'm like, what the hell is that? It's like spider webs. And they're like these mesh little thingies that they just, and over on the tree over there, there's this big one that's just sort of like in the air, flowing in the breeze, just held down to the ground with just one or two little threads. And I'd cleared this whole thing out yesterday. And they're everywhere again. Spiderweb there. And I'm thinking about the concept of power. You know, there's power over, and then there's that receptive power, where you just know your worth and you just wait. You do the work to set up, you know? So I'm thinking about these spiders being so powerful. They're not like, thank God, coming to get me. They're just building. Nothing I do, they care. They just keep rebuilding things. And then they wait. And I think about the interview with Carissa. And we're talking about power. But we're talking about it from this like soul alignment, soul purpose, this inner confidence, irrespective of external circumstances, please. And I'm thinking, we're sort of like spiders, is what we were talking about. Like doing the inner work, allowing yourself to come into alignment, which is work, bravery. But then there's this receptivity from that place where you still need to show up. You just sort of allure in that which you desire, and you're already whole, so there's not a sense of neediness. I'm just feeling very spidery with Carissa this morning. I hope she's okay with that. And there's something incredibly magical if we think about weaving webs, the way she speaks. God, she speaks like poetry. She like weaves these incredible, eloquent, poetic expressions, ways to put words to the, you know, what is that word? Ineffable, like I don't know the word I'm trying to say, but you know what I'm trying to say. That which we cannot put words to, she does. And I'm quite inspired by her and grateful that she's in my life, and how generous she is, and connecting me with other goddesses as I weave more incredible podcast guests for you. So I'm going to get my broom out. I'm going to clear off my little space again. And I know the spiders are going to be like, whatever, Allana, we're going to do it again tomorrow. Something about their potency, their power from within. They never give up. And so shall we learn from them and from this podcast. Enjoy. Welcome to Intimate Conversations, Soul Medicine. Intimacy is an inside job. Hello, you delicious people. Welcome to another episode of Intimate Conversations. Here we are, season 11, Soul Medicine, with a new soul sister. And today we're going to be talking about power. And I'm even going to say redefining power, or going deeper with what power really means and how that applies to our soul purpose and how that applies to our sexy confidence. So let me read you her bio first. You will remember her from IG Lives in the past. Carissa Johnsen. She is a spiritual leadership advisor. She's a spiritual guide, a certified guided energy medicine practitioner, transformational speaker, and executive producer. And she helps high-level professionals achieve wholeness and health on all levels by merging ancient wisdom and modern technology. And she has a master's degree in clinical psychology. She is trained as a medium and shamanic healer with over 7 years of experience in the field of human behavior, energy healing, leadership coaching, and business consulting. And she's passionate about health, leadership, performance through the lens of merging science and spirituality, and works with elite professionals and public figures. And she has spoken alongside Dr. Vitale, Marie Diamond, Dr. John DeMartini, and she has co-produced as well as co-hosted events that featured Les Brown. I just have a little story about Les Brown there for a second. Kevin Harrington and Sharon Lecter. So two things I want to let you know before we get away to the races, my love. First, Les Brown, my son was like 7, and we had this thing in the bedroom, and it was wise words, or great men with wise words. It was like this collage in his bedroom. And anywhere we'd go, if we found a wise man, we'd ask him about his wise words and we'd put a little photo. And we'd do this at like the place we'd go for pancakes before Agape when we lived in LA. But one time we did it with Les Brown. And I remember to this day, he said, if you're going to do what's easy, you're going to have a life that's hard. But if you're willing to do what's hard, you'll have a life that's easy. And it was like plastered right there. So that's a nice little shout out to my sweet son. And before we get away to the races, gorgeous, I was saying before we started recording, my last real memory of how the gift that you are on this planet opened my heart. It was a time I've been through a bit of a rough patch, and I was in this beautiful home for a VIP, and I was overlooking the Continental Divide, and I was listening to one of your podcasts, and it had to do with really feeling what it is to be where you want to be. And it makes me kind of cry, like so far off, like I couldn't get there, but I was like, okay. And I was feeling it with you and feeling it with you. I think I played the thing like fucking 12 times in a row. Like, I'm just like, I can do this. And here I am, so happy. It's been like maybe 6 months since I was listening to that. And I want to thank you for the blessing that you probably don't even know you give people, that you gave to me. So thank you for being on this podcast today.
Already starting the waterworks over here. Thank you for that. Oh, yes. I feel so seen and celebrated, and I celebrate you in that. Thank you for listening and for choosing yourself. This is a beautiful reciprocal sisterhood that we have been walking, and it's really delicious to walk this path with you again, all the spectrum of and the juiciness and the difficulty and all of it. So thank you for that reflection, and thank you for continuing to walk your path, because I see you as well. And there's so much medicine that you offer me and to the world. And so it's just such a pleasure to be here with you again in another conversation. And I'm excited what's going to unfold.
Same. I've already got shivers. So shivers from the pussy to the crown.
The only kind of shivers I ever want.
Right? I hear you. So through this conversation, I want us to weave around discussing like power and how that applies this in as in through us, like potency power that can allow us to live our soul purpose. But as we said, it can be juicy. It can be like sexy. It can be sensual. It can be flowing. So for those who didn't get a chance to see our IG Live, why don't we start a little bit at the beginning so people understand how you became all of this, and how, I guess the last time we spoke was you'd moved to Boulder and you're getting all settled. So that's kind of how far up I am. And of course, I've been following you on social media, but just give us people a sense of your journey till now.
Yeah. So I share more about the whole journey on that IG Live, but to give people a little bit of context, in 2018, I was at the pinnacle of 2019, I was at like the pinnacle of my career. Mm-hmm. I was living in Orange County. At the time, I was getting ready to move to San Diego. I had a sold out private coaching practice. I had retreat waitlists. I had multiple 5-figure cash months. I had an incredible team. I had everything on paper I'd ever want. I was getting ready to move to San Diego, getting a Range Rover, like my penthouse. Like I was all of these things around that time period. And yet I was alone. I was feeling incredibly unfulfilled. I was navigating some of the most intense hormonal imbalances of my life. Wow. I was going to bed feeling incredibly anxious, and I was feeling like I had no purpose. I was just feeling incredibly unfulfilled. And it was dichotomy where it's like, on one hand, I'm experiencing all of this beauty and this transformation. I'm offering all these people support. And on the other hand, in my life, I felt incredibly out of integrity. I remember this moment when I had just heard from a client telling me that she had like crossed over the $1 million mark, and wow. Clients were messaging me saying like all of these incredible things. I'm signing these clients. And at the time I missed the context that I was doing business coaching. Mm-hmm. And I remember looking at myself in the mirror, because at this point I was avoiding Voxer messages. I was overwhelmed with emails, everything. And I remember looking at myself in the mirror and just being, I didn't know who I was. I had no idea who the woman in front of me was. There's many people who would ask me like, what do you do for fun? and I would have no answer. I would have no answer other than work. And that initial moment of dissatisfaction, disappointment really led me down a deep inquiry into who am I? Whose beliefs around success are these, or are these just things that I've adopted? And what is it that I actually want?
Yeah.
And throughout the last couple of years, since that 2020 mark, because that's when I actually started to make some of these changes in 2019, 2020, I went down a deep, deep, deep healing path towards understanding trauma.
Yeah.
There was revealing of sexual trauma that was underneath a lot of this as well.
Wow.
Kind of the illusion of the achiever archetype being completely dismantled.
Yeah.
The masculine shield that I held, and really bringing back these soul fractals that have been lost within me to come into a greater place of wholeness, so that I could actually listen to my heart. I could listen to my soul. I could create a life that was built on a foundation of truth and of my truest essence, versus this matrix and this paradigm that we are adopted into of just like, this is what you have to do and look like and achieve in order to be great. And so, yeah, it's been a deep healing journey, one of which I continue to walk to this day, and continue to have moments around. I'm like, are you sure you don't want that thing? And that's where I found my greatest power, was from coming into my truest self. I think a lot of times we can look for power outside of us. Once I have the money, I'm more powerful. The confidence, more powerful. True power is in the unseen worlds. It's in the unspoken aspects of ourselves. It can be an energetic. It's, the greatest power is often the most silent. It's not someone that says, I see me, hear me roar, which was a lot of my wounding. It can often be the quiet person in a room who just looks at you and penetrates your soul. Like, I see you, and I'm going to hold all of this energy with you and I'm going to invite us to both rise without saying a word. And so it's taken me years to get to the place to cultivate that. And it's been a journey of profound awakening, of coming into the truest aspect of who I am, so that I can help other people tap into that as well.
I love this. Wasn't it Stuart Wilde, one of his books, Silent Power? I don't know if you ever read Stuart Wilde.
I have not yet. No.
Yeah. So he's passed, but he was delicious. I love this. True power is in the unseen. So let's back up to what you said a moment ago, because I think there's so many beautiful synchronicities between us, and I'm sure we lived in a past life together. And we're just like, hey, sister, great to see you again. And I saw your latest post about going to that ancient civilizations, and I want to weave in, how can we tap into the unseen power to awaken and bring back these soul fragments? I want to go there. But this bit about sexual trauma, I don't remember how much we spoke of last time, but my similar experience was like, I was a workaholic, but I called it, it was my spiritual ego. I was making a difference, working every weekend, kind of a martyr. But as I had criminal assault a year and a half ago, and I started PSI, psychedelic somatic integration work, what was revealed was sexual abuse as a kid. And this hooked or looping hypervigilance, I would disassociate, and my body would be on constant alert. Where's the abuser to survive? Like nonstop. So I couldn't rest, because if I rested, I would feel the terror. So I just kept spinning super fast, leaving my body, serving until this really woke me up. I'm very curious in terms of your healing regarding your sexual abuse or trauma. How do you feel now in your body? Like, I thought, Carissa, that I was in my body. I think I was in my heart. I think I was down to about my heart. But now I feel like I thought I had an intuition, but I think I was just smart and strategic. Like, now I can actually hear in my gut. I can feel my knowing in my sacred yoni. Like, I can be in my hips and rest and not be terrified. Like, I'm feeling more home than ever. Tell us a bit about your homecoming into your body and how that's awakened power, purpose, sensuality.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's something that was coming up for me. And I don't know if it's this exact quote, but Gabor Mate, who studied under Peter Levine, somatic experiencing, did a lot of that kind of work and studied a lot of their work during this time, talks about, you know, oftentimes trauma, and particularly a lot of sexual trauma, can lead to addiction, like drug abuse or high achievement. And when high achievement is rewarded, it's not looked at as an addiction. And so I feel very similarly in a way where I just thought, and I was reflected, that you're just so ambitious. You're just such a go-getter. And there's things in my astrology and my way of being where there is that as well, but it was so masked and so rewarded that I didn't realize that I was masking anything. I'm 33 years old. The sexual trauma, I had a soul knowing that it was there. I had an awareness that something was there. I would ask questions like to my mom, like, what happened? And she would not know. And I would have these really weird physical issues that would come up in my sexually and in my body. And I always had this awareness around it, but for it to be suppressed for 30 something years, I mean, the body is super sophisticated and intelligent. It doesn't want us to re-experience those things. And so, you know, to offer context around where I'm at now, I want to give a little context to where I was. I was so hyper-focused in the mind, it wouldn't ever slow down. And I felt similarly to you, where there was this, I am connected to my heart. I do feel love, but the percentage with which I was actually able to feel was like the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
You know, that's how it felt, where it's like, oh, I feel compassion for that person, or yada, yada, yada. Or when I'm thinking strategically about business, it was always from the mind, and I was constantly on overdrive. And there was some moments where I was like, does life actually have to be this hard? Like, does success always need to be this like exhausting in this pursuit? I'm like, no wonder, like, this is just exhausting. So, I was living in that way. And so now what it feels like is, it does feel like the tip of the iceberg. It feels like underneath is this deep, humongous, ancient, never ending, infinite feeling, an abyss of oceanic sensation body. Like, I was able to feel sadness and fear and anger, but now I'm able to feel the full spectrum of all of it, where it's like there's like spectrums of anger, and some of which I actually enjoy feeling, and there's joy that I can feel so deeply in my yoni, and my throat gets alive. Like, the amount that I'm able to feel is unparalleled and gives me access to emotions, to prosperity, to soul. I think our emotional capacity relates directly to our amount of prosperity that we can call in. So it's our capacity. So I think that, given that I feel so much more deeply, I'm able to be in my body so much more fully. And from being in the body, that's where the ancient wisdom, that's where the codes are, that's where the aliveness is, that's where the intuition is, that's where everything is. And there's been this really big opening of the field of somatics and trauma and cellular memory right now that's so beautiful. We don't want to forget about the Western psychology and the mind, but we really do need to go into the body to access this. So the depths of which I feel right now give me access to all of it. Everything, access to more love, access to more power, access to more truth, access to more discernment. It just gives me access, because there's subtle energy that is what is connected to all of this, is subtle energy. And it takes somebody who's really present to be able to feel the very subtle distinctions in everything, in the way that you read energy and body language. So it's been life-changing, to say the least.
I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for me. I'm sorry for us. In the past, I've been a coach for 20 years, and I think I'm a damn good coach. And I've always had what I thought was intuition, but I think I had a very potent heart that was very open, brave and open. So I could sense there. Definitely a great dissociator. So I could hear spirit, no problem. But in the body, these nuances that you're speaking of, they were blind spots. They were blind spots within my own body, and there were blind spots within my clients. But now, having done a good year and a half of this PSI work, along with all the other modalities I do, when I'm with a client, I'm feeling what they're feeling. Like, my body is completely tracking and picking it up, and almost inviting where their body could go to feel the next piece. And then I'm not the fixer. Before, the head needed to fix, but now the body, mind, spirit combo is more of like a witness, an invitation, a facilitator, totally unwavering, but patience of eternity all at the same time. And it's like our bodies are doing this whole other dance, totally separate from the mind. Hearts are connected. And I'm just like, this is really easy. I'm just sitting here and they're transforming before me, which the ego is like, well, you're not working hard enough, or are they really going to? So it's been a journey for me to trust the amount of energy that this vehicle, now that I'm in it, can wield for good, for another, for alignment and knowing for myself, and then for receptivity, for pleasure. I thought I was a receiver. No, I was a go-getter, taker, bring her back. Like, I didn't get that was not receiving. So continue with what this is like for you.
Yeah. It reminded me so much of what you're saying in my own experience, my ability to track like emotions within myself of this inner landscape, but also in my clients, and how being the compassionate witness and holding the space for both of us really allowed both of us to go into these realms where the body is just, that's what people have asked me, what is a spiritual guide? And I don't have this perfect definition other than really listening to spirit and the body and guiding around these uncharted terrains to really understand what's happening. And so, being the compassionate witness and holding the energy for both of us, really co-regulating with them, has given us the ability to understand the sensations and things that are happening in the body. So I think that skill was always there, but it was from the mind. And you're right. There was also these blind spots, particularly in relationships, which I know that you'll appreciate. I used to think, oh, my intuition is telling me this person is not a good fit. And it was actually trauma that was misleading me in a different direction. But until I was able to really drop into my body, I wasn't really able to feel the fullness of there's something else here that I'm missing. And now I worked with the mind and with the body in this cohesion, right? We can't live in this disjointed world where it's like we're only connecting to the body or the mind or spirit. It's all of it. It's all working symbiotically. Yeah. So it gives us greater faculties that come online to be able to support ourselves and each other people. And it's interesting because, years ago, when I've been a coach now for, I think, almost 8 years, I think it's been 8 years as well. And there was this time when I would hear people online saying, people around me, or they just pay to be around me. And I'm like, well, that's a fucking lazy way to offer transformation to people. But at the end of the day, I think that now that I've gotten to this place, my energy field alchemizes my client's energy in such a marvelous way beyond what I ever thought. I thought that I needed to do so much, ask the right questions, say the right things, do the exercises. But the energy that has been liberated gives me the greater capacity, which truly has this alchemical experience with people around me. It literally shifts people when I go to the grocery store, et cetera. So I very much resonate with what you're saying, that that's the world that we're really waking up to and really starting to embrace, that just understanding energy, but we're now playing with energy and subtly and healthfully, positively manipulating it in a way that's radically changing not only our lives and those around us, but fundamentally the consciousness of humanity.
Totally. Oh, I just want to hug you right now. This is so good. Go back for a second. I want to share something and then go back for a second. My latest retreat was the least leading, and it was the most balanced between the depth and the play. And my brain was like, oh, you're under delivering. You need to deliver more. And the feedback was, this was your best retreat yet. And so as I surrendered more and allowed the flow and trusted the right balance, the results were better. So that's been part of my evolution. So I really love what you're saying. And then back to the trauma attracting or misleading you, has a misleading, to the degree you're willing to share a story, so that people can go, oh yeah, that's my life. Wow. And there's another way out of this. And now I'm not sure what your relationship status is now, but what the difference is when you are able to attract healthy, grounded, conscious love from a totally different discernment.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm happy to provide an example. I haven't reflected on this for a long time, but I think it's so timely because I'm actually calling in
Ah,
divine partnership. And it was interesting on the last IG live I did with you, there was a guy watching it that I ended up dating
you
for a
told
couple
me.
of months.
Yeah. Okay. Tell us if you like to.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll give you the story I was originally going to share and then
Yeah.
how that gave me a greater level of awareness around to the guy that I was dating, but I'm currently single.
Okay.
So yeah, around 2021 again, I had no awareness that I had sexual trauma. I had no memory at this point, although viscerally I could feel that there was something there.
Mm.
And I was dating this guy who I think we met on a dating app, and it was during COVID. It was like the only way to date was getting on a dating app. And so we went on a date, and I remember meeting, and without even getting to know him, my body completely was like, nope. I wasn't even able to allow myself to feel and experience him. It was like an immediate shutdown. Immediately when I met him, there was all of these sensations in my body. There was like, I got really out of my body. Number one, I couldn't even feel my heart.
Mm.
I was immediately started judging him. I started creating stories about who I thought he was. Even on the date, at one point, I wanted to leave. I wanted to leave the date because I felt so uncomfortable because I couldn't sense what was actually happening. I had no awareness other than this is like a bad person. And so I
Mm.
went home that night and I was really reflecting because on the surface, like not having been connection with him, I was like, this guy looks like a nice guy. When I was calm, I could feel that he had a good heart, but there was just so many other bodily sensations that happened that really blocked me from creating this whole picture of who he was. So for months, we would go back and forth. We would go out on dates and I would have this incredible time with him, but then I would feel like I couldn't open and I would feel frozen and I would feel, I would feel cold and I would start creating all these stories of like, this is the main thing that really came up for me was I felt like he was going to do something. I going to harm me. I
Mm.
thought he was going to like kidnap me. There was like this paranoia that kept coming up. And it was so contradictory from who I really deeply felt he was intuitively. But
Mm.
there was like this mismatch and this really stark contrast between my experience of him in dating and then how my body felt.
Yeah.
Two very different things.
Yes.
So yeah, so years later, I've been dating now on and off for a little bit, and after doing this work, I can tell where there are protectors and where there are survival strategies and where there is an intuition. So I'll give you the example. I was dating this guy who actually started messaging me from our IG live the last time. And because I'm still actually working through this trauma, I don't feel like it's actually completely resolved even at this point. It
Mm.
comes and goes in waves. Like there's a lot of titration that happens. Like there's a lot of opening and then a lot of like, okay,
Yep.
pacing with all of it.
Yep. Yep.
I blast it off like the achiever in me wants to. And so we started dating. And then within a few months, the same thing started happening again, where I was experiencing him as this very loving, very conscious person. But then there were these moments where I started having this paranoia and this fear, and like my body was just really speaking to me. And so the difference in this moment is I'm aware of it and I recognize it, and I'm not letting it run the ship. I'm speaking to it. So at this point, I'm able to say to him, I'm noticing I'm having these sensations right now. I want to speak to and bring this up in conversation with you. And he's meeting these parts because that's what it all is. It's a lot of these parts. And if you're familiar with internal family systems and you know, then there's a lot of like these aspects of ourselves and our psyche that just want to be honored and acknowledged and have a voice.
Yeah.
So in the past, I jumbled it as this is Carissa. She doesn't like this person. My intuition is telling me no.
Right.
Whereas in this example, it was like, okay, there's a younger part here that I can feel that's afraid.
Yeah.
And maybe he's not a perpetrator, but maybe he did something like the perpetrator did in my life. And instead of going, he's a bad person, I can't have any experience with him. I'm acknowledging what's here. I'm speaking to him. He's actually holding start off love and reassurance and asking me what the needs are, what the requests are. And we're meeting the need of the part, which gives me so much space to explore. Okay, this isn't full body soul intuition saying this person is not meant to explore or have an experience with. This is a part that's afraid, that has a need and wants met and wants to have a voice in this experience. So it's a very different thing. And although it still comes up for me, I'm able to be aware and acknowledge and make space for it. And when met with this divine masculine, unconditional loving presence, there's so much transmutation and so much freedom that happens in that connection that offers that young one more safety to be a guide, because she's certainly guiding me and she's here. She's one of my most important allies and voices, but she's not the person driving the ship. She's in the car with me, but there needs to be more awareness and acknowledgement of what the actual thing is underneath that's driving all of it.
This is brilliant. This is brilliant. And if indeed he is, the partner is this unconditionally loving, non-judgmental, not going to fix or change and just be there, then this aspect can be felt. And all the stages of trauma we can move through, and they're uncomfortable. And we might want to leave our body and we're super cold. We might come back in and say, oh, the hell with life. I feel hopeless. And then we might be like, I'm going to panic and freak out here for like 30 seconds, or I'm just calming myself down. I'm still on alert. Okay, I'm back to zero. Hi, right? We can actually, this is what I love about PSI, Saj Razvi. He says like the wounding happened in relationship and the healing needs to happen in relationship. So we do this as coaches and facilitators, but I like that we're also talking about real life with dating and relationships, that if there is a partner who can hold space, they can be supportive for us to come all the way back into that place of home, wholeness, deeper discernment, deeper soul awareness, and alignment, which I love. And the opposite, of course, is true. If we can't be that for another, if we're triggered, or if we have a partner that gets triggered when these aspects arise, then it's a fucking shit show. And it can like make things worse and exacerbate the traumas, which is what occurred in my last relationship. And what was different in mine than yours, my body was turned on by abuse. So I was turned on by a more violent, unsafe energy, like literally turned on, even though it didn't make any cognitive sense. It was a different battle between mind and body for me. And yet he was the catalyst for me to do all this work and create such great resolution within my body and homecoming. We just didn't heal in the relationship. We healed outside of the relationship.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that as well. Deeply resonating with a lot of the patterns that I've experienced as well, where a man would show a lot of aggression and possessiveness, and I'd be like, oh, wow, that's super sexy, and missing the oh yeah, that's actually trauma. That's familiar. And so no wonder I'm turned on by that. And so I think a lot of people do experience that. It's actually gave me a little bit of a clue on like where my eroticism was. There was a lot around being taken advantage of or being taken that gave me further insight into, okay, there's something here. Yeah. And, before we move on from this, I want to say something about that too, which is that when I was dating this guy, there were many things that we did that he showed up in a great way for me with. And one of which is he gave me permission to close, which I think a lot of men judge the feminine for closing. Like, you need to be open for me. Let me take you. And what he really did that gave me so much safety was he said, the second part of that was like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, you can close and I'll be here for you when you're ready to open again. And I had never been treated with so much reverence and so much care, where he was like, show up as the young part, get mad at me, close, and I'll still be here. Like, I'm still here for all of it. And so even though we didn't work out, there was a tremendous amount of healing that took place in that relationship that I have so much appreciation for with him, because the divine masculine has never shown up for me in that way. And because the perpetrator in my sexual abuse was a caregiver and was not a parent. It was somebody in my family, friends, and was a caregiver and a man, there was all of this, and there's still all of this jumbled, like, trust men and there, and it's given me so much more admiration and appreciation for the body and like how much sophistication and intelligence it actually has to be able to protect me from not experiencing those abuse, So just wanted to say that.
Wow, sweetie. Wow. Thank you. Mine would say, fuck you, cunt, leave. so not so safe, not so safe. And yet the springboard into the deep work. And as I've been there for myself, my own inner masculine is protecting me, providing me, putting down boundaries, speaking up in court, standing up for myself. That's the internal that's beginning to be holographically projected outwardly. And I had no libido when I first started going through this work. Once I got so much of this resolved, it was almost like a reset for my body, for my sexuality, for what is safety. And I felt like this new innocent little bud at 53. And I'm like, will I ever have a libido again? Was that the end of it? And slowly but surely, through self-pleasuring, trust, a lot of cranial sacral, acupuncture, a lot of different body work, continuing to work with my dance movement teachers, all of this, I would say a healthy sexuality began to emerge. And I had compassion for the girl who was turned on by being abused and really brought her home. It was so much self-forgiveness, Carissa. Oh my God. There was so much self-hatred of like, look at you helping all these people for decades and you freaking can't get it right. And it's actually getting worse. Like, what is wrong with you? Like such self-criticism. And so the self-forgiveness was huge. And then slowly but surely, men in mentor roles, coaching roles, shaman roles, energy work roles, I would slowly but surely put myself in the presence to surrender in front of these divine masculine. And it was like a retraining of my body, mind, and spirit, my autonomic nervous system. I'm like, that's what healthy honor feels like, devotion feels like, respect feels like, asking for, may I, in different sexual somatic body work, may I massage you, touch you, like just permission, using my voice for the first time ever. And it took months to get to. Only a month ago, I got on Match.com. And I'm ready. And I've been attracting extraordinary humans. I've been attracting support from people that who I've interviewed to support me through court, writing letters for me. Like there's just been incredible nobility. And I didn't think I would ever get here. And so I want this conversation about like this empowerment or power or potency and I trust my soul as well. And I'm curious about you as you're moving into dating now. On some level, my soul knew that abusive relationship was still the path home. It had to get that bad, or his connections, or I was willing to do the work, or I had to have it be that intense for me to really go, okay, let's double down. What's this next level of work? So that I could look back seriously without regrets, and a gratitude that some oversoul was guiding me the whole time to bring me to this moment with Carissa Johnsen to talk about it. So, tell us about how you truly feel now opening and calling in your divine partner.
Oh, I was so forgetful that this is the work that you do, because you come into my life at like the most timely moments. And even in this moment, it makes me emotional thinking about. Because similar to you, I had done and have and will continue to do so much work around really honoring myself enough to choose differently, and really becoming aware enough to have a greater understanding of what it is that I want and what it is that I'll tolerate and what it is that I'm willing to be devoted to.
Yeah.
And similar to what you were saying, I do think that all paths lead home.
Yeah.
It reminds me of this silly example that Spirit always gives me whenever I'm making choices. I'm always calling on higher guidance, and I speak to my guides and angels, and they're always like, how many roads could you take, different roads could you take to get to the grocery store and home? And I'm like, thinking probably like 10. And they're like, yeah, okay. So there's this one that might be a little bit more scenic. There's this one that's a little fast. There's this one that there's maybe a few more stop signs. There's this one, but where are they all taking you?
Yeah.
Home. So when we're making decisions about partnership, when we're making decisions about business or anything, all of the paths are going to provide us with the exact medicine that we need in order to arrive to where we need to be.
Yeah.
So that, unfortunately, like for some people, they experience some abuse. And I'm not saying that that needs to happen. You know, there's a lot of theories about trauma and spirituality. And in my path, we talk about this particular essential event that happens.
Mm.
And that essential event is based on the soul contract you made with certain lessons that you were here to learn.
Yeah.
And so that needed to play out to crack you open, to
Yep.
be like the cosmic wound for you to spend your life healing.
Yes.
And then you share the wisdom, right?
Yes. Yes.
So when I think about this, I think about, you know, there are things that we experience in our relationships, particularly in this moment we're talking about, that we have to experience in order to really receive the codes fully from that, in order to choose differently, you know? And so clients will ask me, like, why do I need to go through so much pain and suffering? And it's not that you have to, it's that how long are you willing to stay there before you actually receive what you're meant to receive? Because there is a place of empowerment of choosing differently. Yeah. Sometimes we're so oblivious to what we're in that it takes us a while to get there. So for me to get to this place where I'm at, where I am open and not searching like on a never-ending search. Like there used to be this cartoon when I was younger, and I remember this like little bird who would be in an elevator, and every person who would come in, he'd be like, "Are you my mommy?" That cartoon was, but I remember meeting so many men and just saying like, "Is that my person?" Any guy at the gym, at the grocery store, "Is that my guy? Is that my person?" And now I'm just so infatuated with my own pleasure and magnetism that there's no doubt in my mind that I'm going to attract him and he's going to pursue me in such a way that life is also showing up for me as well. The way that I'm viewing my relationship and calling in divine union is also the way that I'm looking at money, is also the way that I'm viewing and experiencing my clients and just friendships and everything, that I am just this magnetic being who gets to be in a state of openness and surrender with a cultivated masculine and boundaries and discernment. Yep. And what, similar to what you're saying, everything that I'm attracting right now is kind of blowing my mind and helps me feel so fucking proud of myself that, wow, what I'm experiencing is a reflection of me. Like attracts like, right? That's the laws of the universe. So what I'm attracting, I'm also seeing in me. So these men who are coming into my life right now, I'm noticing that there's a certain level of embodiment that they have. There's a certain level of power that they've cultivated. There's a certain level of trust that they have within themselves. And I'm seeing myself as I see them. And so it's exciting and it's vulnerable and it's like, it's everything that I've been wanting and for so long. So we'll see how this whole story plays out. But yeah, now actually feels like a time in my life where I feel ready. And up until this point, I could have said that I was ready. I think the last time we talked, I'm like, yeah, I'm starting to feel ready. Now I actually feel it. It's a different felt experience where I can feel, not only does my mind say, oh, I'm ready because I've checked all the healing boxes, but my body's saying I feel safe and I'm ready to open.
Oh, that's so delicious. Isn't it amazing? I didn't even know. Like I thought I was all the parts were connected, body, mind, spirit. Nope. And now that, and I'm sure I'll be on this path forever and there'll be even greater levels of bliss and connection. But I'm the most connected I've ever been. I know what I know, and the attachment is gone. And the receiving, that's really how receiving is. Like you just fucking sit here Yes, I put one foot in front of the other and my masculine does its thing every day, but the ability to rest in safety, as you just said, and enjoy. Like when I first got here, I'm in North Carolina right now at my girlfriend's. I sat on the porch and there were fireflies, Carissa. I'd never seen so many fireflies. And I was just crying. I could receive, not just cognitively analyze the fireflies, but they were dancing in my body and my soul. And I was crying. I'm like, I'm held, I'm safe. I'm experiencing life so much more deeply. And then I sat and just like you had said, what really matters? And I said, partnership, healthy partnership. And then I had just shut down 2 companies, almost went bankrupt. There's still the court case for the assault. And I'm just like, oh, this is not the time. And my shaman said, it's the perfect time for you to put yourself out there, because the old you who needs to have it together and look good, she doesn't have a chance. So why don't you just throw it out there, who you are, what you desire, what's going on. Be honest that you don't own a home. Be honest that you have savings and investments, but you just shut down 2 companies. You overextended yourself. And this is where I am. And I don't know where I'll be in 3 months, but want to meet, want to date. And it's amazing that level of unapologetic, deeply transparent, unattached, heart open. Here it is that my favorite of the people that I've met, he said, I read your profile 4 times. I instantly had to meet you. Like, oh my God, yes, I have worked my 50 some odd years to have this level of ferocious truth and brave surrender and rapture. And so I don't think this is too much to share, but a year and a half ago, right after the assault, I interviewed Kim Anami. And she invited me into her, well fucked woman program, but I was not ready. I wasn't even in my vagina. My vagina was numb. My labia were numb. My butt muscles were numb. I didn't even know it. So a year and a half of all this work, I finally started taking her course again, or for the first time. And I had my first vaginal orgasm at 53. I did not know that I just had clitoral orgasms. That was the end of it. And they had to be such, mind fantasy in order for the body to turn on. And there's a really shitty rule she has in this program: no vibrators. I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm like, okay, fine. No clitoris, no vibrators. 2 months. We're just going to get to know our vagina. And the first time I started to touch myself, I sobbed, because she's like, I have been waiting for noble penetration for 50 years. And so I touched her first, this deep and connected. And it was so beautiful. So a lot of people think my first vaginal orgasm was with this gentleman, and there was another one actually, and it was really quite amazing. And I sobbed my snotty face all over him. It was like, and he was just like, wow. And he didn't go anywhere. He didn't make me wrong. He didn't try to fix my emotions. And I was just like, you're my first. It was such a beautiful homecoming. And it just feels like the beginning of what this power, this life force energy through my body, what I can create with orgasmic energy and pleasure. And I'm safe and I'm receptive. I'm just like, it's just the most beautiful thing. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Woo. I'm like feeling that the depth of like the importance of this for you.
Yeah.
And just like, oh my gosh, it just is speaking right to my soul on a very, very, very deep level. The parts of me that want to be put together before I am dating, and the parts of me that are afraid to have this really profound experience of pleasure because it's too much, or and also what I was really sitting with what you were saying of, you touched you in that way first.
Yeah. Yeah. And I went through the sobs, and I allowed her to be so aching and so longing and so ready. And I also had the experience, and it was only maybe 3 months prior, as I was going through this whole healing journey and I was coming home to myself, still the idea of a man leaving me, rejecting me, cheating on me, felt like I would commit suicide. Like there was a real dark period when I came out from disassociation into the body through that hopeless phase, where I was still so attached that if I was going to surrender, it would be to the perfect man. And if he let me fall, there's no point being here. Like it was dark for about 3 weeks. And I worked through that too, so that now I have my back. I will not reject myself if I get rejected. I will not cheat on myself, abandon myself if I get cheated on or abandoned. And when it was the second weekend, this gentleman came to visit me. We were sitting on the couch and he's like, what did he say? It's a magnitude of responsibility to be the masculine for you. You're so much energy. He's like, but there's no pressure or burden from you whatsoever. And I was like, aha, I have my own back. I don't need him to have my back. I have my own back. And I can surrender to him fully, because if he has a human moment, I'm good.
You got you. Yes.
There's no pressure. There's no pressure on him. And it's an invitation for him to step up more gallantly than he ever has, because I can receive. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah. And he has the choice. He has the choice that he wants to versus like you needing him to.
No obligation. Yeah. Yeah. No duty or obligation, just invitation. And it's awakening his creativity. He's like sending me poetry all the time. He's like a musician and a songwriter in his retired life. He had all this other stuff he did, and now he just wants to play music. And his main priority, and get this, Carissa, is to have, an epic romance. And I'm like, oh, I'll have that. Thank you. That's your main priority as you do your thing. That sounds great. So, yeah, I'm going to go for date number 3.
Oh my God, this is so exciting.
It is. And I want the viewers and listeners to get, I've been at this, you guys know, 2 divorces, custody battle, criminal assault, like vulnerable the whole way, growing the whole time. And I just want people to know, when they say, never give up on love, it's true. I'm 20 years older than you are, and I'm just starting to get the hang of it. And it's been worth every step.
Oh,
yeah.
You're going to have the most epic love story. I can feel it. Like, oh my God, I can't wait to have you on my podcast, because I can feel when things are going to start changing. This is so exciting for you. Wow. Thank you for being so open and vulnerable and raw, like truly medicine, like this beautiful divine elixir of truth. And it's like penetrating every aspect of my being right now. So good.
I'm so glad. Our timing is always so exquisite for what's unfolding for both of us. So why don't we begin, even though we're going to probably talk forever. We'll be doing podcasts and you'll be 70, I'll be 90. It'll be great. So tell us what you're creating. Tell us what you're excited about, what delights you, how people can play with you, dance with you, work with you. Yeah. Tell us what's going on.
Oh, I am going through what feels like another identity shift, except this time I feel so regulated and like the witness in my life, just watching myself truly become who I feel I came here to become, but also always understanding that underneath that is just the infinite, ineffable, transcendent soul that is just expressing itself in different ways. And so now what I'm really excited about is I've been writing a lot. Writing is my favorite thing. And for a while, I just looked at it as like copy for marketing. Sure. I'm a poet. I'm a mystic. I love taking words, and they have this like really alchemical experience. I'm also a channeler, and that's something that's also a little bit vulnerable for me to share. Like I've been channeling a lot of beings and energy into the poetry. And sometimes when people are reading it, they're telling me their whole body is buzzing and they're having shifts from that. So the thing that I'm so excited about right now is the writing, the channeled writing and the poetry to come out. And, I also am really appreciating that there's people that are coming into my life right now in such a way that, like I said before, it feels so easy, and it feels so exciting that clients that I'm working with, or experiences that I'm having, or opportunities that are coming in that I want to share right now, but I can't because they're so juicy, but there's like no paperwork signed yet. But I'm living and experiencing things that I've experienced in some like windows before, but now instead of looking at these are miracle moments, it's like, this is the miraculous life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that feels fundamentally different. And so ways people can play with me is that I have 2-day immersions that I'm really excited about bringing clients in and taking them on these really profound luxury healing experiences in the mountains in Colorado. It's been so fun.
Nice.
And I have one-on-one work privately as well, but just taking all of the things, whether it be the poetry, the channeling, the guidance, whatever, and just putting it all in this buffet and just putting it out there and just saying, you choose your adventure with me. We've got so many different ways that we can work together, and really doing away with this narrow-minded expert philosophy of like, I'm the expert in this thing. Like, I have so many gifts and so many ways that I would love to offer to the world. And so, yeah, if any of this is resonating, definitely reach out, follow me on Instagram. I'd love to share more of my journey and just and my gifts in a way that I think just heals the world. But ultimately it comes down to what we've been talking a lot about here, which is deeply coming into a greater level of wholeness to access that soul. The soul that wants to drop in and wants to guide and wants to expand and wants to play and wants to create. Like, we are all artists in whatever way. Like, forget all the titles. Like, we are fucking artists. We are living and breathing creators of masterpieces, whether that's through our business, our family, just our sense of self. And I feel like I'm just here to awaken people to that through the plethora of ways that spirit has led. And so, yeah, that's what's alive and exciting, and ways that people can play.
Delicious. So CarissaJohnsen.com with an SEN. It'll be in the show notes. You can reach out to her and play, follow her on Instagram for sure. And I love this idea of these immersions as well. Now that I've done so much of the PSI work, I don't know what medicines you work with as with your shaman training, but I'm so grateful. I've done lots of tier 3 work leaving, and I know that I'm one with the universe, and a lot of wisdom has come through, but this trauma didn't heal until I did the tier 1 work and I stayed in the body. And so I'm really passionate about that. And I love the idea of these immersions that I'm providing for people as well, because as you just said, like being with our energy, and that we're walking our talk, and that we're not better than, and we're the facilitator. And then you're beautiful gifts with the channeling. And I love to write my report of findings at the end of the VIP weekend. And so you have like poetry that you would write them that would channel through, like, wow. And to be able for them to reread that after, and not just have the experience, but have that energy through your words to keep it alive. I can just see, wow, what a gift that is. And your voice, the resonance, like when people speak. Have you ever interviewed Stuart Pierce? He worked with Lady Diana. He was on the show a while back. And when this man speaks, I'm like, what dimension are you speaking from? Because your voice is like, whoa, just wakes up multidimensional me. So you have a similar voice. It is not just sourced in your vocal cords. I can hear it from another multi-dimensions. And so please, as you write this poetry, be sure to share on your podcast or wherever, because I feel like reading it, but also hearing it would be such a gift to people. Thank you.
Receiving that. Thank you, sister.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, delicious ones. This was a mic drop mini moment podcast. I'm sure there was one that touched you the deepest. So my request is, when you finish watching or listening, don't rush off. Take a moment, take your shoes off, go outside, unless it's the middle of winter in Siberia, go outside and ground and listen to what divine action is calling forth from this conversation, so that your life has literally been anointed and blessed by how much we love you, how grateful we are that you spent this time with us, and so that we can have this incredible symbiotic figure 8 relationship with you as we share our time here on Intimate Conversations. Carissa, can't wait to hug you in person. Like, look out.
I know. It's like we got to plan. Yeah, in October.
October, I'm coming to Denver. Yeah.
Yes.
So I will see you then for sure. Yeah.
Thank you for having me. What a gift.
Oh, thank you. Again, everyone, CarissaJohnsen.com. Please be in this woman's world. We love you. And thank you for the honor of loving the shit out of you. See you next week on Intimate Conversations. Get out there and make love to life. So I'm reminded, as I go to get the mail, I'm reminded of last weekend. I went to Charleston to have an incredible weekend with this new man I'm dating. And we're at dinner. And beside us, 2 for 2 anniversary couples. And I just get so excited every time I'm around people celebrating their love. And I've been so trained in questions that, empower, up-level, evolve, generate a deeper level of connection and intimacy between people. And so I leaned over and I said, so, happy anniversary. It would make me so happy to know what is a favorite memory of the past 16 years together. And her face softened, and you could see her begin to go through all these memories. And he said, he goes, "Are you a therapist?" And I said, "I'm an intimacy expert, and I really find it's important that we spend the time to go through those memories. It just, as we relive them, it makes us feel so good." And he started to sort of puff up, and she began to share what it was about him, that he's so reliable, that he's just always there. No matter what goes down, she can relax and count on him, and to watch him kind of puff up about that. And I said, how about you? And he said, well, clearly she's not hard on the eyes. And just to watch her melt and sort of swirl in her seat, and then went on to just say, yes, she believes in me. She just believes in me. And I swear the energy went not just around the two of them and towards my boyfriend and I, but like it permeates into the world. And I'm reminded of this power of communication and the energy of words when I'm having this last podcast with Carissa. I mean, the woman, she speaks in poetry. It's like she channels the divine as she speaks. And to be in communication with her, whether you do one of her, VIP shaman journeys with her, or whether you listen to her podcast, please be in her world and allow her communication and the power of her words to dance and weave throughout your life. And let that inspire the way you communicate, and to take those conversations that one level deeper and ask and bring people, not just to the rainbows and bunny rabbits, all the wonderful memories, but even, tell me about it, something challenging that happened today. What did you learn? And don't fix them, don't change them. Just go, wow, yeah, you have every right to feel this way. Tell me more. And these connections, they matter. Intimate conversations, intimate connections are really the food for our soul. Thanks for being with us, as always, on Intimate Conversations. Anything I can do to support you on your journey home to your heart, you know where to reach me. AllanaPratt.com/connect. All my love.